Hi guys, and welcome to the world's famous Beating the Press podcast, where we talk all things football. If that's your type of thing, why not join me, Ty, and the rest of the 80-strong BTP army in our hostile takeover of YouTube by subscribing down below. So, with it being International Week and the impending Euros in a couple of months, today we're taking around about a 20-year stroll down memory lane and just reliving the Euros. I think Euro 2000 we're doing. Today we are humbled to be joined by none other than our special guest today, the CEO and founder of YouTube channel Reggae Boy Gaming.
That's right. That's the one. The one. Why go on, people? How's it going?
Welcome, my mate. How does it feel to be on the world's famous Beating the Press podcast?
Pleasure. First podcast. You know what I mean? Breaking me in gently. It's nice. It's good.
Like this. Just to give everyone a bit of background, we hadn't just fucking pulled him off YouTube because we've just seen him play Pez. We've known each other for about 20 years, so it's actually quite apt to it. 2001 was the time when me.
Yeah. To be fair, I think we're all at uni together when 2000 came out. To be honest, we were starting uni actually after that tournament. I think.
So me and Simpson. Well, his name's Del, but I created a nickname Simpson for him, and that stuck for 20 years. So me and Simpson went to uni together, and we sort of I don't know. We ended up sort of hanging out from the first day.
And then we created JLS and the rest is history.
That's the background, and that's why we've got him. We haven't just pulled him off the street. So, hey,
that's right. You know what I mean?
How's it going? You all right?
I'm good. Yeah. All up in this confined room doing this kind of thing. It's different, but it's good. I enjoy it. Good to be on camera as well, doing these things as well. So, yeah. Good respect to I'm looking forward to this. Remember this tournament well.
How's the lockdown been with your channel and whatever?
A lot of it okay. The good thing about that is you've got someone to concentrate. The haircuts have been a bit dodgy. I'm rocking a bit of a Jamaican Viking thing going on, but hey, Rasta Lothbrook over here. But you know what I mean? It is what it is. But other than the dodgy haircuts, I've been busy keeping working, and good thing is all the family's safe and well. So hopefully, same for you boys as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So obviously, we're here talking about Euro 2000. Not a great memory for our team, England, as always. Spoiler alert, we don't go on to win it. Ty's team come remotely close. But so what I've got to remember is our listeners on the podcast. Today we're going to be sharing a couple of images which we're going to try and describe. And basically where we're going to start is early in the tournament where England get pretty much knocked out. We're going to go through the England team and just pretty much give our thoughts on what we remember and specifically on England first, and then we'll move further on in the tournament. So what I'm going to do now is just share the starting lineups of the England's 3 group games, and I just want your thoughts on those, boys. So we'll start off with Portugal. What do you remember about this game? Either of you?
I remember Luis Figo's shot from about 30 yards, took a slight deflection, and it went in, didn't you remember? And it was like a back and forth game, and then when Portugal went ahead, it was just like typical England, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, that Figo shot though was something else, man. That was something else. One thing I do remember, I can see straight away, is Phil Neville. I mean, talk about hurting me 2 minutes in. Phil Neville played all 3 games at left back. All 3 games.
I mean,
the liberties.
we won't jump to the Romania game, but Phil Neville certainly has the last shout, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely.
Phil Neville definitely influenced this tournament more than any player that I remember influencing him more than anything. I mean, I'd have made him Welsh after this. I'd have taken his passport and said, no, hell no way. But I don't remember that. I remember the Portugal, the Figo shot was unreal. But I remember being 2-0 up. But Paul Scholes the first one. Am I right with that one?
Yeah, you are.
And then, McManaman little half volley with the second. And then like Ty said, typical England. The go ahead, everything's cool. You know what I mean? You're relaxing in the pub with your pint, and the next thing you know, Figo hits one from 40 yards. And then the striker they said would never score goals, Nuno Gomez, goes on to... Yeah, you know the rest. It's painful. And we knew for well with Germany and Romania it was going to be tough after that. But
I mean, just one thing. I'm looking at that team, that those formations, and you look England, typical England. Even in Euro 2000, we've spoke about the tactical setup of teams. England 4-4-2, 4-4-2, 4-4-2. The 2 best teams, were the 2 sort of more established European teams. Portugal play more of a sort of 4-2-3-1, and then you've got Germany obviously playing 3-5-2. It just shows there was no flexibility within that. And then there you've got England don't have a left-footed player in their team. You know what I mean? It's like you got Neville at left back, you got McManaman on the left side. It's like, you know what I mean? Gives a chance.
It's just I mean, even the bus driver must have been left-footed. Somebody must have been left-footed. Anyone. You know what I mean?
They literally have just shots at anyone in there. You know, like you say, you've got McManaman, Wise. How has Wise got like a game in two? Oh, Jesus Christ! But yeah, I'm like you, Del. I remember the good start, like the cracking start that we got off to. Both of the goals were pretty much identical. Obviously, Beckham whipping them in, and then you've got Scholes and McManaman, and we were just absolutely flying. And that's where I think every England fan goes through the same thing every tournament. You think we're going to do it this time. Yeah, we're going to do it, and in reality, we just got our asses handed to us with our Figo goal. I think it took a little deflection off.
It did. Sol Campbell, was it, if I'm right?
Yeah.
I think it was some deflection. Yeah, it was a little deflection, but it obviously went in. And then you always, I mean, the papers and everyone said it's so important not to lose the first game. Yeah. And when you fuck the first game up, then it's like pressure's on. And to be fair, the game against Germany, they won, but
Germany were poor that tournament.
I mean that is the worst German team I can remember, because basically that was the start of Germany just ripping everything up and starting from scratch. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's when they got Klinsmann and Joachim Löw involved.
They got Christian Ziegler at the back as well, haven't
they? They've got Didier Hamans, Jeremy Jensen, the what he's playing. It was shit. Do you know what I mean? Sebastian Daz, Ulf Kirsten and Carsten Janker. I mean, it's like championship football, isn't it? You know what I mean?
I mean, if you're getting beat by an England team with Dennis Wise and Phil Neville on the left-hand side, there's something going wrong in there.
Yeah. But you look at that German thing, though, as well. Like that German team, within 2 years later, am I right? 2002 World Cup, they got to the World Cup final against Brazil.
Yeah,
so within 2 years, they turned that around from being worse than us, and we're still, you know what I mean, doing our thing.
I still do think that German team that got to the Euro 2000, that World Cup 2000 final was brutal. Do you know what I mean? I think they got an unbelievably lucky draw to the final.
Oh yeah, I mean, Marco Ballack carried them quite a bit, to be fair.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And then
but just the resilience of putting together some crap and still getting that way, whereas we couldn't do it. And like, the Figo thing was an 80s toe poke from 50 yards away. You know what I mean? And Dave Seaman can't do anything about it. But it was just more the fact again, like I remember Tony Adams. Obviously, you can see there, Tony Adams got dropped after that game because Tony Adams missed the last-ditch challenge to get Nuno Gomez in. And that third goal, Gomez's touch is that far wide. You think anyone else might have got there, and I think that was the end of Adams as well. To be honest, Tony Adams didn't play again after that. I don't think.
Yeah, you're right.
It was done. So it was one of them, and then they put Keown in. I think maybe just his face might scare the opposition. And thinking, you know what I mean, looking like Wolverine's grandpa in his face. But it's like, it just seemed to be a lot of the demise of a few of the old school ones.
Do you know? This was an era and a time when the younger viewers and listeners probably won't remember this, but England had a massive issue finding players on the left-hand side of midfield. They ended up playing. Do you remember what they had? Ashley Cole at left back, and they played Wayne Bridge ahead of him. And they played they stuck Scholes out on the left, and that's like sticking Dennis Wise as like a holding midfielder. It's like playing Kante on the left wing. Do you know what I mean? It's just the thinking behind it was just so backward and stupid. And it was like, we're going to stick to this 4-4-2 formation. Don't care what players we've got. This is the way we're going to play.
Surely Graham Lassell was kicking about still.
Probably, but Phil Neville's got the gig, hasn't he?
I know, but there's a lot of left wingers put out there, though. To be fair, Heskey did it for a bit and all, and he just, like I said, you'd have to maybe look at a change of formation or something, doing something. I mean,
it's ridiculous that he's got like 4-4-2, like you were saying there, Ty. Like the change of the formations, obviously, other than the Romanians, like the other team, you can see that they're so far ahead tactically. But like, I think if you look into the team, especially the Portugal game, that's a relatively strong back four. Obviously, take Phil Neville out. I understand that this was when Sol Campbell was at Tottenham. So, because what I was thinking originally, you've got you've got Adams, you've got Campbell, maybe of Arsenal, and then Seaman, but looked into it, and it was Tottenham. But in the other positions, like, Beckham, Scholes, Ince, you could argue that that's like up there with the strongest players in the world at that time.
You would, but I just want to say something. I mean, obviously tactics and everything's advanced. If you look at England's midfield, when without the ball, that doesn't give you much protection apart from Ince.
No.
You know what I mean? And you think, can you imagine a team, if England going to a major tournament now and just having that? And Ince isn't a particularly completely holding midfielder because he was more of an 8 up and down. You know what I mean? Exactly. So Ince is like your most defensive player there. And then you've got McManaman, who isn't going to defend for shit. Scholes can't tackle for anything. And Beck, do you know what I mean? So if you...
There's a distinct lack of pace in that midfield at all. Lack of pace in that midfield, big time with it. I mean, isn't it Kevin Keegan as well as manager at the time?
Yeah, Kevin Keegan was manager.
And again, as much as I love Kevin Keegan for his passion, but tactically, even at Newcastle, it was always 4-4-2, and it was attack. You know what I mean? You can't say attack, and Phil Neville, you look after things at the back. You can't do that. Phil Neville's walking around with one shoe on. You know what I mean? You can't do that. You can't. So I think with Kevin Keegan as well, and especially after France '98, we did so well and so unlucky against Argentina. We just assumed we were going to press on. But even then, you look at Gary Neville, Beckham, Scholes, that was probably only their, second major tournament. And we got knocked out in the second round of the World Cup. So experience-wise, there ain't that much in there, to be honest, tournament-wise. I mean, you've got, Seaman from 96, Shearer as well, and then Adams. The rest of Ince, maybe the rest of that squad was kind of first or second tournament they've ever been in.
Yeah. So I think from yours, if I remember right, Adams, Neville, McManaman, Seaman, Ince, Shearer. So half of them, you'd say. But I get what you're saying. I get what there was a lot of sort of inexperience, in relative terms, in relative tournaments. Let's just move on to the German game. So Simpson, things our guest. What do you remember of the Germany game?
To be fair, I remember this well because I remember the local pub that I used to go to. It was the last game they ever showed in that pub because it got trashed after Shearer scored. I just remember Shearer's header going in, 6 pint glasses flying past us, everyone celebrating, and that was it. Landlord was like, "Get out, I'm done." There was no more football in my little town that I lived in. That was it. Do you know what I mean? You had to walk 7 miles or some crap to watch football. But I remember that well just for that, and I don't remember anything else. I don't even remember the ball hitting the net. I just remember Shearer heading it, and it was just carnage. And that was it. And I think just again because we got beat in the semi-finals 4 years earlier, it was just it was the first time I beat in Germany in God knows how long. So I remember that, but I don't remember it being a particularly great game. I don't remember any sort of like major chances or world-class saves. I just remember Shearer's header, and then I blacked out till Tuesday. That's about it.
Do you know the thing that really stuck with me, and looking back now, it holds more weight. Like you look at England and Germany, you think of them as two of the sort of powerhouses in world football. You know what I mean? Them two teams that were put together, and the performance they put up there was pretty dire. England won. They had to win. They had to get a result. And obviously, I mean, the way everyone sort of saw this, if I remember right, well, I do remember it. It was like we lost to Portugal. We can't lose against Germany. You've just got to beat Romania, and that was the hope. When we beat Germany, it was like unbelievable opportunity. Romania was almost a given. Do you know what I mean? How do you remember the Germany game, Chris?
Yeah, I'm like you. I remember it for being absolutely woeful. Like it was so bad. And the only thing I do remember from it is the Alan Shearer goal. It was kind of like a diving header, wasn't it?
Yeah, that mistake.
Yeah, it was like a really good finish. But obviously we always give it the build up as soon as we get drawn in with them in the tournament. And it's always like us against the Germans. My question is, do you think that they give it as much of a build up as what we do?
I'd say so, definitely. I think every country does. I think they do. I think every country does. I think the difference is regardless, like even us now, we beat San Marino the other night and we're already hyping up saying we're going to be second favourites to win the tournament. And I'm the same. I'm like, no. And then a week before, I'm like, yeah, we're going to win it. I don't know. Yeah. I think that's the thing. I think Germany have got a bit more, I don't know, they take a lot of the pressure off the players. They go into that tournament as more of a team unit. Mm-hmm. But again, even back then, you look at your Spain winning team, World Cup winning team, mainly Barcelona players. You look at Germany's team, mainly Bayern players. In England, you've got what's called the top 6. So you've got the best players spread out everywhere, a bit more of rivalry, a bit more of, your own patches of players in the dressing room. Whereas the majority of these teams that win the tournaments, 7 or 8 of the players play for the main team in that country.
Exactly, yeah.
And again, there's only maybe 2 or 3 main competitors in that country. So there is a bit of that as well. But I think just we always have that bit of arrogance of we're going to beat everyone. Which isn't bad, but you need to control it in the right way.
I do think we are sometimes a bit too harsh on ourselves about that. What I mean is, and I get what you're saying, Chris, do we big ourselves up too much? Our press are not as harsh as we think they are. And I know the Italian press are unbelievably tough on their own players and team. It's a different breed. So I think every country has it in their own, every country, all the top nations, at some point believe they're going to win the major tournament. Whether what percentage chance they give themselves, that's always debatable. But in the grand scheme of things, they all turn up thinking there's a chance we can win this.
Yeah.
Imagine, you know, no matter how small it is. I mean, regardless of what prices they are with the bookies and stuff, you generally turn up and you think we've got a chance of winning this. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think each nation's the same, you know, especially the big ones.
You need a bit of luck on the way as well. Yeah.
I can't get away from the fact that Dennis Wise has played 2 of those games, and he's played 2 of those games on the left-hand side, and I'm just wondering who else could have played there. Obviously, you've got Nick Barbie of Everton, and then beyond that, you've got a young Gareth Barry at the age of 19, perhaps. But
I think Nick Barmby he played there for quite a few years, didn't he? And that's I think that was probably a time when Keegan, just looking at the name, Dennis Wise playing for Chelsea captain, do you know what I mean? Let's get him in, and a bit more defensive solidity. But surely you just adapt your formation. Do you know what I mean? If you want to get him there, you play him in the centre midfield, probably go to a 3 at the back and play Beckham back, which he did for part of the Euros, and Phil Neville at left back, you know what I mean? Even though it's Phil Neville, that's
but you even go with Keown Adams or Campbell, couldn't you? Back 3 and put both Neville brothers, the Chuckle brothers on fullbacks. You know what I mean?
I know, and you just sort of think there's a distinct lack of balance to that team. That's the way you look at it, regardless of how good or what you think. You know, you're just thinking the players are in the wrong places.
But do you not think back then it was still a case of England, you name fit, if you were playing for one of the top teams?
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't like, I mean, Southgate now, his team was a bit dodgy. But when he first came in, the great thing about it was he was picking like Maguire at Leicester, he was picking lads in form. Whereas back then, it didn't matter what form you were in. If you played for United, Liverpool, whatever, you were in that team, weren't you?
Absolutely.
And it were like that, unfortunately. Like, I mean, look, one thing I can think of now, Steve Guppy. Where's the Gupster? Steve Guppy and his left Pegasus. Every time, Steve Guppy. But he'd have given that balance. He would have given that balance, even if he would have, you know what I mean? Been terrible.
Didn't Steve Guppy he got a cap, didn't he? I'm sure he got a cap.
He got one in the Kinderegg or something. I remember something like that.
But do you know the thing with him though? It was like, at least you get balance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. If you're going to play 4-4-2, you're going to have to get a balance.
Yeah, exactly.
Just while we're on that topic, I just wanted obviously you guys don't know, but Simpson is a Liverpool fan also. Just a quick question. Just a quick question on the Trent. I don't know if you saw in our last podcast, we basically discussed Trent being left out.
Yeah,
and we've just touched on it there. Players out of form. Not too many managers in the past would have dared to have left, I'd say, a Liverpool player out of the team. What are your thoughts on Trent being left out?
It's just more his explanation, really. He was obviously smoking something and watching the old World Cup highlights 2 years ago with Kieran Trippier. Like, again, I get it. Trippier's, he trusts him. I get that. But, I mean, for me, it's not just, even though Trent's not in form, whatever, it's different things. It's set pieces, it's corners, you know what I mean? It's the pace again. And Trippier played well against San Marino, but to be fair, my mum could with a false hip, so I don't mind that. But it's just Trippier. I mean, was he banned for a bit as well? Then he's played a handful of matches. I mean, even if he'd have gone with Wan-Bissaka or Reece James starting, I'd have maybe understood that a bit more because they've been playing and been in form as well. But to drop him completely, it seemed a bit of a strange one when you've got also people like Eric Dyer was in there, I do believe.
Yeah.
And then so there was a lot of players that he could argue are not informed, so he kind of contradicted himself a bit in his speech. But I get it. He's played with players he trusts. Most of them got into the semi-final last time. So again, I understand where he's coming from. But for what it is and the explanation, I think the explanation was the bad part about it. Really, what he said, I think it didn't really make much sense. Other than that, it's up to him. We all got our own England squads in our head. But his explanation didn't make any sense, to be fair to me. That's the only thing, to be honest.
Well said. Yeah, so moving on to the Romania game. Obviously, this is where we just got custard pied, like Ty says. All we had to do was draw. Did we have to draw?
Yeah.
Yeah, because Portugal, Germany lost every game. So Portugal won all 3, I think. And then, Romania beat Germany. So, we were both on 3 points. So a draw would have done with the goal difference or something like that. But it was just, But again, 1-0 down, 2-1 up. And remember Nigel Martin as well. I'm not sure why Seaman got dropped. Did anyone remember that, why that happened?
I think it might have been an injury. I doubt Seaman would have been dropped at any point during this tournament. But he's still, you've got Martin and you've got Wise in there. But obviously, every tournament for England has a scapegoat, and my scapegoat and just about everyone's was Philip Neville on this. It is, isn't it? You just choose one, and Yeah, it just so happened Phil Neville was the one that gave it away. But I remember we went 1-0 behind and we were playing absolutely terrible. I actually watched this in can't even remember where it was. Anyway, it shut down shortly after, just like yours. and I just remember, obviously, we went 1-0 down. We were absolutely terrible, and then I think we got a fortuitous penalty just before half time, and then Shearer slotted that away, done his usual celebration, and then after half time, Michael Owen scores one. And then obviously they
keep it in. He kicked his head off, didn't he, on that one as well?
Yeah, exactly. And then they go on to. I think Nigel Martin messed up on the second goal, and then obviously the final one was a penalty. What do you?
The first one was a free as well.
I don't even think VAR would have got Neville out of the shit there when it was an absolute nailed on penalty. When it's like, fuck me, as soon as it's happened, everyone was like, "Yeah, hold on, you're all right. It's 2-2. It's fine. It draws." And he actually crunches it.
There's no need for him to go down. The guy was literally going out for a goal kick, and he takes it. He better wake up with cold sweats still about that. I swear down. It's just there's no need for him. There's no need at all. But again, if you got the shirt on, you're probably passionate. But it's just being sensible at that point, and it just see it out, and that's it. But
I think that the biggest thing with England then and years on as well, there was just the lack of tournament know-how. You know what I mean? To manage games, and it was just all about. Back then, it was all about three lions and passion and, do you know what I mean, aggression and fighting for the shirt and representing your country. I think sometimes.
But that's maybe why I put Wise in there, because, like I said, the only dirty player really had was Shearer with his elbows. Yeah. And maybe that's why I put Wise in there for that bit of. Because, like I said, the you know what I mean. Like back then, we were so honest. Things we don't go down, we go do this, but we were getting beat in tournaments by what's clever play, really.
Yeah.
So
that was England. Bye-bye. Do you guys remember the fallout from the press? You know, you get the normal stuff, don't you? Do you know what I mean? After it was just normal stuff from the tabloid press, just sort of saying, you know, not fit. I know Neville got absolutely slated, didn't he? You know, there's always like a scapegoat, isn't there?
Yeah.
And after obviously World Cup '98, it was Beckham won it, and then it was Neville. Beckham was like, "Cheers, Neville."
It was.
But he got absolutely smashed. So moving on, what we'll do now is we just have a quick look at the knockout games. I don't know if any of you guys remember. I'll just start with this first one because the way it used to work then, so you had 4 group stages, top 2 from each group qualified through for the quarters. And I'll just go through the quarters and see which game. Spain played France. France ended up winning 2-1 that game. Italy played Romania. Italy won 2-0. Holland beat Yugoslavia 6-1. I don't know if you guys remember that one.
I do remember Yugoslavia. They were like an entertaining team in the tournament. I think they had a 4-3, a 3-3.
They were, yeah. And then
Milosevic up front.
Yeah. And then Portugal beat Turkey 2-0 as well. So that was obviously massive game. Just talking about the standout game for me in the group stages, and I don't know, and I remember when I was watching this, and I don't know if you guys remember this. If you look back now, you'll say, one of the greatest games ever. It was talking about Yugoslavia. It was Yugoslavia against Spain, and Spain won 4-3 with a Mendieta penalty in the last minute. They were losing 3-2, and then they scored twice. I think it was Alfonso equalised in the 95th minute, and then it was Mendy. It was like both of them scored and literally dead. They were dead and buried. They had to win. They won. So that was the knockout stages, and that was Yugoslavia entertaining us, getting beat 6-1 in the knockout stages.
I just remember Cliver straight from Julie's down there, hat trick, and then they were back to Julie's at the club.
I think he ended up with 4 goals, and I think didn't that tip him over being the actual.
I think he just beat Milosevic. I think.
Yeah. And obviously with the Dutch, like the tournament, if we haven't already covered it, I don't think we have actually. The tournament was held in Holland, a cross between Holland and Belgium. Yeah. So obviously they're thinking that they're going to go on do a little bit about Belgium. Holland. I remember Belgium. No, sorry.
Class team. Then.
Belgium. Emil Impenza. That's a name that'll stick in my head forever.
For those that played Championship Manager back in the day, will certainly remember.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that Dutch team. I mean, you look at it before, like Kluivert, Overmars, Bergkamp, Davids. It was just, and then Rijkaard was manager. Remember leading up to it though, they had loads of friendlies and they were shocking. And they were actually saying, I don't think this guy's going to be good enough. And then, funnily enough, the best team in the qualifiers was the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
And after Euro 96, you're thinking, I remember that big dude, that Jan Koller, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
You're like, Odor coming out. I'm like, what the? Him and Carsten Janker. It was just, I was like, what the hell's going on in Eastern Europe? It was just too much going on. I remember them dudes, but I remember Czech Republic being poor. But that Dutch team, though, I mean, they had both De Boer brothers as well.
Yeah.
And you're thinking they could go far in this as well. And but it's one of them. But Euro 96, the only thing with the Dutch players, a bit like the England team, they don't seem to gel. As good as they are, there always seems to be a little of something that happens compared to like a German team or Italian team who just seem to drop everything and just play for that badge in that country. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, that Dutch team was good, I must admit. So,
just moving on. So naturally with the Dutch, let's just move on to the semi-finals.
So
we'll go with the Italy. We'll talk about the Italy. I think you've got the graphics, Chris.
I have. Yeah.
Yeah, you're well prepared. So just let everyone know the semi-finalists were Italy against Holland, and Italy are the team that I have a very close, special bond with. So Italy played Holland, and then the other semi-final was France and Portugal. So we'll kick you off with the Italy game. So, lads, what do you remember of the Italy game before I go off and take over the podcast?
I remember Jaap Stam's penalty. He killed a steward. I remember that. He hit that ball so hard and the ball screamed. I was like,
it's 2020. It's 2020, and that ball is still somewhere.
Honestly, it was like kicking his ex-wife. I don't know what the hell was going on in his head, but he was upset about something. But I remember that ball flying over.
The internet was about back then. There'd be so many memes.
He just looked like Voldemort kicking Harry Potter. I don't know what the hell going on. It was too much. I remember that well, though. Yeah. Because Italy missed one as well. Because Italy started off really well, and then normally terrible penalties. And then I can't remember who missed Italy's penalty.
Maldini,
Maldini, yeah. And you're thinking if anyone is going to lose it for Italy, not him, because you know what I mean. Obviously, he's a god over there, isn't he?
Yeah, so, I think that'd finish tie off with Maldini.
That's the stint installed in it on the heart. That one.
Yeah. So the actual game, I don't know if you lads remember, we played Holland, and Holland are obviously at home, big favourites and stuff. Zambrano got sent off after, he got sent off early, he got sent off in the 34th minute. So they've basically was a defensive job, and then they've missed, Holland missed 2 penalties during sort of normal time as well, before penalty. I think they missed one in normal time, they missed one in extra time as well. Memory might be off, but I know they missed 2 penalties. Anyway, so they had a back 4. We had a back 5 of before Zambrano got sent off. Zambrano, Cannavaro, Nesta, Giuliano, and Maldini. I mean, Cannavaro, Nesta, Maldini, Zambrano, like 4 of the best defenders of the last 30, 40 years. I don't think there's much debate for that. Then you got to penalties and basically, knockout. And Holland fucked it up. And it was just one of those when you're watching it. And after when Holland missed the second penalty in normal time, you're thinking, they're not going to win this, even though they've got an extra man. It goes to penalties, and then they lose and they get knocked out. And the bit that really that really sticks in my memory is after the game, the camera sort of zoomed in Right guard. Right guard was a Dutch manager at the time, and he was crying all alone. I don't know if you guys remember this.
Yeah, I do.
He was actually crying. Obviously, I'm an Italy fan. I was like, yeah, we're in the final. And then Right guard, and I felt for him then. I really didn't. I was just like, some managers really do take it to heart. It was almost like he thought he was hidden from the world cameras. And you could just see him like a grown, Right guard's a legend, and as a player. And you see him sort of break down and crying. That was my memory that sort of stuck from that semi-final.
Where was his home as well? He was on his own. His coaching staff said, "Screw it, I'm out."
Yeah,
they were keeping their jobs.
Game or don't want it. He's gone up. I don't know. He's gone upstairs.
He was up there just pointing at him like that. Sack him.
And the cameraman, I found Right guard.
That guy got a bonus on Monday.
But I mean, it's obviously it's a massive opportunity. You think football's come home for him, and he's obviously he won it as a player. I think he was going to be the first ever manager to win it as a player and a manager. And you're up against obviously that Italy team is pretty impressive, but obviously you're one step away. But Ty, do you remember the penalties? Because there's one distinct memory that sticks out for me. Obviously, I remember.
I think I know what you're going to say before you say it, but I'll let you finish.
I was going to say Maldini missing. But what stuck out for me was how pissed off Clive was when he scored his penalty.
Yeah,
he was absolutely fuming because once before him, he knew they would be at that point.
Because he missed. Clive missed his penalty in normal time as well, if I remember right. So he's obviously thinking, if I scored that, we won't be in this shit. But the one that sticks in my head, and I'm hoping I'm not getting it confused. But I'm fairly sure Totti did the Panenka in that final.
He did,
yeah, he did,
He did that Panenka, didn't he? And and I just thought, unbelievable bottle, you know what I mean? And it wasn't one of those where you've actually pissed it as well. It was tight at the time.
To be fair, he's one of the players of the tournaments, though. I mean, I forgot to mention that goal he scored in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Where he chests it down and volleys it in corner. I mean, for me, that was probably the goal of the tournament as well. It was ridiculous how good Totti was in that tournament. He was crazy good.
So did you have belief that you would go on to win? Were you certain, semi-certain?
The thing being an Italy fan, for those that haven't watched the first one, so I got into football early 90s, and my sort of first major tournament was 94, and that was when Italy were in the tournament and England won, and I just sort of attached myself to Italy, and from then it's just been like a weird emotional connection to Italy. So whenever Italy played, it was always like, and the same cliches get bandied now, it's a typical Italy performance where they just defend, and then they just do it. And you look back now and you look at the attacking players Italy have, they were not defensive players. Look at Del Piero's, Baggios, Totti's, Pirlo's, you know what I mean? The list is endless, and it was just lazy journalism and lazy punditry and all that shit. So I always felt we had a chance, but I always wanted Portugal. You know, it was like once France were there, we knew we were going to be tough, but we just lost to France on penalties in the World Cup '98 2 years ago, even when France won the World Cup. So France couldn't, it was like, I knew it'd be tight, but I still felt we were better when we were underdogs, and we were underdogs. But I fancied ourselves, but I wasn't like overly confident we're definitely going to win it. It was, you feel you've got more than a sort of fighter's chance, boxing chance.
Yeah. So speaking of France, obviously the other semi-final, we'll move on to that. They beat Portugal, golden goal by Simpson. You're an avid football manager fan. I just want to know your opinions on the Portugal team. I know of the Rui Costas, the Figos. Beyond that, Javier as well. But beyond that, my knowledge on them, should they have got that far?
That was considered their golden generation, though.
Was it?
Before Ronaldo, and all, that's what they said. They said, they reckon they should have won a tournament. The Portuguese still think now they should have won a tournament with Figo and co. Yeah. And to be fair, they always said they were missing a striker. And then, fully enough, Nuno Gomes popped up in that tournament, and he was unreal. But the rest of the time, he did nothing. But I always remember the Portuguese apparently should have won a lot more. And you think with Fernando Couto as well, and they had Victor Bahia, the goalkeeper, and all. They did have a very good team back then, to be fair. And they were considered, like I say, one of the outside sort of favourites for it. And again, with the one thing with Italy had decent strikers. I remember even France '98, France was struggling for a striker. They had Dugri up front, and you know what I mean, Jean-Pierre Papin or something. It was like 84, but then like that tournament was sort of the birth of Thierry Henry as well. Do you know what I mean? That's when he suddenly. This geezer plays left wing, but he's cutting inside and he's going past Peter Schmeichel with the right foot. And then he had his mate, Cyril Wiltord, coming in doing the thing. So that sounded like the birth of when France got them strikers. But going into that, you look at the strikers and everything like that, you're thinking, Portugal and France don't have enough goals up front to win it.
If some like the younger generation were watching this and they were seeing that they had Henry and Anelka, and you're saying they had a dearth of top quality strikers, you'd be like, what's he on about? But you are right.
Early doors, man. Yeah. Anelka was the man back then. But even then, like, I look at that now and I think, would England win that group back now? If it's Portugal, Germany, Romania now, if we got that now, this top Euros, we'd probably have the same result. We wouldn't get through. I don't think we would. And I look back now and like it was there's more teams in this year's one. There's 16 in that one. Yeah. But you look at the teams. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good players out there. There's a few world class, there's some good players, but across that tournament, the amount of unbelievably great players that played in that tournament was crazy. So to win that, I think would be one of the hardest tournaments to win anyway. Yeah. Every team had at least 3 world class players nearly. It was just, especially in the quarterfinals onwards, there's just some amazing players back then. Again, like Bergkamps, depends like I said, Inzaghi at Italy as well, and even Davor Suker. You know what I mean? People like that back in the day that someone might not recognise, but amazing tournament that.
That's a great point. Like when I was looking earlier on at the last 16, like the quality in there was ridiculous, and England and Germany weren't even in the last 16 as well. So you bang on. Ty, your thoughts on that back four of France and in the team in general?
I think France's back four were brilliant. I mean, there was obviously a repetition or a consistency from the back four from World Cup '98. And you've got, Blancs there, Thuram, who I think is one of the greatest defenders of all time, and it's weird that I think Thuram doesn't get the credit he deserves. You know, we look back and, you know, we talk about greats, and he just seems to get lost a bit sometimes. And I just think he's phenomenal. He was great at Parma, he went to Juve, was brilliant at France. So, yeah, no, I think, top notch. And just talking about the France-Portugal game, the memory, you know, you talk about little bits. That I remember. I mean, Zidane was the best player in that tournament for me by distance. He was at the peak.
Yeah.
There was a ball that went over to the right hand side, and he's chested it, and he's spun, and he's got the ball. You probably see it on YouTube many times. He's chested it, and he's come back with his right foot, and he's defending it like for lollipop seat, mate. Come back next week. Do you know what I mean? It was just absolutely brilliant. And I just thought, and we're going to talk about the team of the tournament in a bit, but you go through the players and you look back them, and it's just legends of yesteryear. Do you know what I mean? This is for you know, it's our time, because when we were in our late teens, you know what I mean? And it was just
if you take any one of those 11 in their prime, they were world class. There's not like too many 11s that you could say that about. Like, they were world class. Obviously, maybe Barthez is a little bit erratic and comes under question in that.
Yeah. But like, for example, would Pogba get in that team? The France's team?
Not a chance.
You know what I mean? They consider him he would not get in that team now. Not a player getting France's team back then. And like people say, oh yeah, you're biased because you lads grew up with it in that era. But there was more quality then, which is weird considering the science in football and everything now. But there was that team. Pogba wouldn't get in that team. Not a prayer. You know what I mean? Yeah,
that's a good debate for another day, that actually, because, you know, you think about when we were younger, you know, our parents and uncles and other relatives will be telling us that the generation before them were much better than our generation. We're looking back at that and saying there's no chance Pogba. You'll get some little 10-year-old with purple boots on coming up to you and saying, no, Pogba will take that team.
I packed it on FIFA 99 rated or something. I don't care, man. I don't care, man. Like, he won't get in that team. I'm telling you now, he won't get in that team. You know what I mean? Even like, and it sounds daft, but would Kante get in there over Makelele or Deschamps?
I think
as good as Kante is, I don't think he would.
It's very questionable, yeah.
I agree. I
love Kante, but
yeah. I think Makelele is like, you know,
he invented that role.
He got a position named after him. But the thing was, in that Makelele wasn't even in the team, was he? Do you know what I mean? I think he obviously come on after. It was Deschamps and Vieira. And then you got Joachim, Zidane, Henry, and that was generally the sort of team. And, you know, we talk about the rest of the back four, and you got, I mean, that back four. You look at France's back four, and I mean, we might have talked about the final this season. We've talked about the so France got to the final. And you look at the defenses for both of those, and you look at Italy. I mean, I'm just going to name that. I've mentioned it before. Zambrotta was obviously suspended, but, you know, we'll go Nesta, Cannavaro, Maldini. You'd say three of the top defenders of our generation over the last 30, 40 years. And then you look at France's, Thuram, Desailly, Blanc, Lizarazu. You'd say exactly the same for that as well. Do you know what I mean? And that is an unbelievable. And then you look at the midfields as well, and the whole team was just, you know, that was a top final with top players. The only weakness I'd say for both sides was the front men.
I was just going to ask you on that, Ty. Like, obviously, I'm playing a little bit of a spot the difference between the two 11s. From the semis and the finals. Obviously, on the semis, you've got Inzaghi and Del Piero up front, and then he's changed it for the final for Totti and Del Vecchio. Is there any reason why that?
Yeah, it was just, I mean, that if you look back, there was always a huge thing in Italy whether Totti should play or not. I mean, looking back now, we obviously got Totti brilliant, and you know what I mean? And Italy were blessed with Totti and Del Piero, so it's you can't play them both. Do you know what I mean? It was one or the other, and obviously the manager gets paid to make the decisions, and he's gone with Del Vecchio. And I remember Del Vecchio wasn't even supposed to be in the squad at the start of the thing, and then he ended up scoring in the final. And I don't know if you guys remember, Italy were the better team in the final. They should have won.
Yeah.
They were 1-0, they had a bad chance, and they're not. And then I still repeat, you know, there's that when they do equalise in the 95th minute or whatever. It's not. It goes long ball from France. France have tried. Zidane's tried everything, and Italy, you know, done brilliant, keep them out. It's gone long. And it's not the first header that they lose. It's the second one. I just felt Cannavaro. You know, I've got the picture back vividly again. It's like Cannavaro jumped too early, and he's at the top of his head, just flipped over. It's almost like if you just waited that split second, you just get bombs on it, and it goes. But he just flipped it, and it's hit Will, and it's got Will Todd. Will Todd's shot from a really tight angle. And Toldo's got a hand on it, it's gone underneath, and it's just like.
It was right under Toldo, wasn't it? Right.
Do you not think they went with Del Vecchio just for the sheer fact of got Desailly and Blanc? So it's lack of pace, but physical back there. So Inzaghi would have been probably overmanned really like that. And again, Totti's a bigger player than Del Piero. I don't think you maybe looked at it and thought physicality and the pace behind them with Del Vecchio would have been a better choice than Inzaghi maybe with it.
Maybe. I mean, I wouldn't say Del Vecchio was lightning, but yeah, I mean, I think the physicality bit potentially. But again, it was just one of those. I mean, they played 120 minutes in a knockout.
Yeah, but we're coming out of an era where back then it was the 90s early on. It was physical big players, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And the main thing as well for me that I always thought about was nearly all them French players have played in Serie A for a couple of years or a number of years, so they kind of knew the players. They kind of knew what the Italian game was about as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it might give you minimal kind of stuff, but then things can win you finals. But you think about, again, like Thuram played there for many years at Juventus and Parma. You've got Zidane played there. Deschamps played in Italy. Do you know what I mean? Henry was there at the time. So a lot of them had already played in Italy and kind of been against them players one-on-one, week in, week out, which must have helped France a bit compared to the Italian players that never really left the country.
It works both ways, though, doesn't it? Because the Italian players would have obviously played against them. A lot of them were teammates, you know what I mean? So, I mean, it shows. I mean, every time they played each other, it was unbelievably tight. I mean, you talk about, probably talking a bit advanced, but 98, France won on penalties. 2000, obviously, France won the golden goal. And then 2006, the World Cup final, Italy won on penalties. Do you know what I mean? So it's like the two nations that are really very sort of equally matched. There's not a lot in it. And they're both unbelievable quality, the quality from both of them. Just,
do you think that's Italy's kind of tactics, though? They go into it a bit like Benitez was back in the day. They go into it saying, right, if we get a clean sheet, that's half the job done, and then we'll go on to win it that way. Because, like I said, they never really scored a lot of goals in the tournaments, and the finals were always.
The same thing will happen when it comes down here, or in Italy. They'll just sort of like, they're not. They'll be a tough team, but don't expect them to win it. The thing is with Italy, they'll always. Defensively, naturally, tactically, they're always smart, but they don't get the credit they deserve for going forward. And attacking wise, I'm just talking there, having the ability to leave Del Piero on the bench, Inzaghi on the bench, and then do you know what I mean? You've just got to sort of think bigger picture. And I'm fairly sure Inzaghi was starting ahead of Dugarry for France. You know what I mean? We're talking strikers, so they weren't that bad off there. But yeah, I think it's about perception how people see Italy as opposed to. You ask Italy how Italy see themselves based on the way everyone else.
Oh, they score great goals. They just don't seem to score a lot of goals, if you know what I mean.
But they don't need to, do they? They're very tight. You look at the games, they're not like 4-3 Spain, Yugoslavia.
Just a quick one, Ty. Not that I like reveling in your pain. Do you remember where you were when you were watching it? And do you remember how you felt when Wiltord scored?
Yeah, I can actually remember right now. People think, "What is this fucking dick on about?" But I'll tell you exactly where I was and what I was doing. I was at my sister's and she'd gone out, so it was just me watching the game. And I'm like, "Yeah, they're gonna win." And then when Wiltord scored, proper dagger to the heart. But I still felt an extra time golden goal, we can still win this. The moment Trezeguet scored that goal, till this moment, I can't think of a goal that's hurt and hit me hard. I literally just fell on the sofa and I just thought it was just like collapsed. In your head you think, let's go again, lads. But there's no more going again.
Golden
You're dead.
Golden
goal,
And they actually binned it after that as well. There's no more golden goal. Do you know what I mean? It was like, that's it. We did it for Euro 2000 to kill Italy, and that's it. We're not going to do it again.
Martini was heading UEFA, wasn't it?
I know.
Well, the thing is, everyone remembers Trezeguet's goal. I remember Perez's run. The run that Perez did. He took out like 3 players before he crossed it in for Trezeguet. And at that time of the game, everyone was shattered, and he just came out with this bit of brilliance out of nowhere. And again, he wasn't the quickest of wingers, but he went past 3 players, whipped it in, and Trezeguet really, he should have played for Argentina, really, to be honest. But
that goal. I mean, Trezeguet's volley, he's hit that with not left foot, his right foot. He's hit that with his left foot. And he could do that again. I don't think he'd have skied it every single time. And that one, he absolutely nailed it. And there's no chance. And he's just like dead. And you can see everyone just come on. And it was just, that hurt a lot. Just thinking back right now, it still hurts, Do
you think if it had been 1-0 France and Italy had scored 95th minute, Italy had gone on to win it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, momentum's a huge
momentum,
Momentum, you know what I mean? It's like, that's the biggest thing. You can't... I mean, we've been watching sport and football for a long time. I still haven't heard anyone give a proper reasoning and some sort of thinking and balanced view behind momentum and how you can stop that and how to me it's the single biggest factor for changing results of games. You can't stop it. What the fuck are you supposed to do? I mean, think about if you're winning 2-0 and you can see the goal and it goes 2-1. momentum's with a team that's just scored all the time. It's a horrible score, isn't it? It's like,
that's what I mean. You could be Liverpool. Liverpool playing Liverpool under 10s, and if you go 2-1, you're absolutely fucked at that point.
You overthink things as a player. You overthink your touch. You overthink, all right. Whereas naturally, when you're winning, you just everything's working. I'll carry on doing what I'm doing. Whereas if somebody scores a goal, you I'll keep hold of the ball. I won't do this. I won't do that. You need to. You overthink everything with it. I mean, you can tell in the crowd in Italy, though, the Italian crowd, the crowd just went like that when Wiltord scored. I mean, that affected the players.
I mean, you've got to think. Wiltord scored the 95th minute, and I remember your fans, your players, you're thinking you've won it because you've defended everything they've sent. They've thrown at you. And then for that to happen, you're just thinking, we've not won it. We've got to do this again. And you've got to go again to lift yourself. It's just mentally, it's such a tough blow.
Earlier on, when I was watching, I watched that goal back and Wiltord's celebration. It was almost as if, as he goes to the crowd, and I think he either shakes his head as if to say, nah, you're not getting out that easy. Or he just wiggles his finger like it's not over, And you're like, oh my God. But yeah, so that's the final spoke over. We'll move on to lastly the team of the tournament. Ty, do you want to go over the team of the tournament? Yeah.
So I'll just go through the team. So it was the standard 4-4-2 after we've been fucking nailing it.
Good old Roy Hodgson.
No, I think Roy Hodgson was part of the UEFA committee back then.
Roy Hodgson was about 35 back then.
No, but to be fair, I mean, I'm going to go through this team and I'm going to go pretty much all legends, by the way. So I've got Toldo in goal, back four, Thuram, Cannavaro, Blanc, Maldini, midfield four of Vieira, Zidane, Figo, Davids, and a front two of Cliver and Totti. Talk to me, boys.
You go, like you said, Thuram. I mean, can you name a better right back ever?
No.
You got Dani Alves. Nah.
I mean, I'd throw Javier Zanetti in there, but that's just me. Yeah. Zanetti or Cafu, but he's up there. He's in the conversation.
Cafu, yeah. But Thuram is what he did, and then from centre half to right back. But again, you got Maldini, arguably probably one of the best defenders of all time.
Yeah.
Zidane, arguably the greatest midfielder of all time. And then again, everyone else is, apart from Davies, did a little stint at Barnet, but other than that, we're looking all right. What was he thinking? But anyway, other than that,
did you know we were going to do this podcast? Did you know we were going to do this podcast?
And he just pieing chips at 46 playing for Barnet. What the? Honestly. Yeah. Anyway, I kind of digress with that a little bit, but yeah, he's just And I bet there's a lot of decent players that haven't got in that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That would. I mean, it's just. You're looking at it now already. It's just ridiculous, that team, how good it was. I mean, Bergkamp was not in there as well, for example.
Henry wasn't in there. Stam wasn't in there. You look at Spain's team. You look at Spain's team as well. Do you know what I mean? And even England, Shearer and Owen. You know what I mean? They're the top. So you've got. I mean, if you go through that team, there's quite a few Ballon d'Or winners and World Player of the Tournament winners. Shit,
and obviously, it's mainly the lads that have made it quarterfinals, semi-finals, obviously, which they naturally will do. You know, I mean, you're going to get picked if you've made it to the later stages of the tournament, right? But it's crazy how many good. Overmars is not in there, for example, as well. He was different class in that tournament. So yeah, it is a crazy, really tough decision to make that World 11, really, that final one, to be honest. So you can't really begrudge it if someone's not in there, not.
So Chris, what about you? Thoughts on that?
You've said everything. You've absolutely nailed it. I'm just thinking Toldo. Toldo is probably maybe the only one that you wouldn't consider a complete legend.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
These are the guys that you pick out of, like Simpson was saying earlier, like FIFA packs today.
Icons, yeah, you're right. You're right.
They are.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of the strong. Like obviously, when we're going through these tournaments, we'll notice that there are some 11s with slightly weaker, but you can't pick anything from there.
When we finish this will be the best 11.
Well, we'll have to put them together.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll put them all together, and I'm going to lay my cards on the table. We're not going to get a better 11 than that. That's just how it's going.
And again, I don't think you'd be able to swap Toldo for anybody else. I mean, like I said, Bartes got to the final, but
yeah.
I didn't rate him. Schmeichel got knocked out early doors with Denmark. Looked shocking.
Yeah.
Who was in goal for Holland? Was it Van der Sar then, or was it Ed de Gouw?
I think
in opening teeth.
Yeah. But the only thing
remember de Gouw's teeth.
The only thing I will say is, if all of those players are available, they start for their team. Totti was the one that didn't start in the final. Like that's
semis, you mean,
So it just goes to show the strength that Italy had back then. So yeah, with that being said, we'll move on. Lastly, I just want to ask you guys your most memorable moment of the tournament, the one that sticks in your head the most.
Simpson, you go first, seeing as you're the host.
I feel like I'm going to do too good and too bad, really. The too bad definitely Phil Neville. I swear down. Yeah, I don't even want to go there with Phil Neville. Yeah, that Phil Neville, that sticks in your memory just for the sheer pain of it, to be fair. And then something that I enjoy, really, like I said, that Totti goal for me. I always remember that, just that chesting it down and volleying it. And to be fair, like we saw Bergkamp and stuff do it before at Arsenal and stuff like that. But in a tournament like that, I remember that fondly. So yeah, that and Trezeguet's goal, but yeah, and Phil Neville, unfortunately. I can't believe I'm saying Totti, Trezeguet and Phil Neville in one sentence. That should be illegal anyway, I swear down. But yeah, for me, I know there's more than that, 3 things, but yeah, them things for me.
Hi.
For me, it's there's a theme here. It's the, I don't know if me and Simpson like pain, but yeah, it's the Trezeguet goal. It's the one that I just, you remember it. I remember it for all the wrong reasons, and it hurt. And look back now, you can sort of look back. I can remember. You already remember exactly where you are for those moments where it's an unbelievable high or it's an unbelievable low, and that was a fucking low. I can remember that cunt with his left foot. He could have fucking skied that. How's you nail that? I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter at all. But yeah, that's the one that always.
And the fact it's a golden goal as well, I think made it even more memorable.
Yeah, do you forget it? Like Simpson, do you have a best moment of the tournament?
Just what Zidane was just phenomenal in that tournament, and I'm a huge Zidane fan. You know what I mean? And I think like you have players that make the game beautiful and make you fall in love with it. And he was just so elegant on the ball and so powerful. The semi-final against Portugal, he was just phenomenal. He was just like gliding past everyone. And that bit about everyone on YouTube, he chests it around. It's like iconic. You know what I mean? The free kick against Spain as well. Zidane's the highlight.
Did you try it on the Sunday League the following weekend, though? I know you played centre half. Did you try it? I know you tried it.
I probably tried a lot because I could run that then.
I'll try it at centre half. It don't make a difference. It's okay.
My best moment was actually feeling like for 1 second that we were going to win the tournament when we went 2-0 up against Portugal. Obviously, it was short-lived, but I'd say the standout moment for me, the best moment, and like I'm a massive fan of Zidane like you, and I just remember his penalty against Portugal in the semi-final. Yeah. He had to wait, I think, no exaggeration, maybe 7 to 10 minutes to take that penalty because of all the theatrics going on. It was Abel Javier who handballed it, and he was like, "I didn't even touch me. It didn't even touch me." VAR. I would have a field day with that to just have a look at the screen. But it just took forever for him to take that penalty, and then he just stanched it in the top corner like Zidane does. And for me, that's my moment. That pressure, just to put up with that and then just do what he does, it's just ridiculous.
No, I'm glad that is, because you can't have the first 30 minutes of the tournament. That's your favourite bit. 2-0 up and then it's done. Job's done.
We just what we'll do is, as always, we have a weekly question. So this tournament's question is, what's your standout memory from Euro 2000? Could be anything. Could be England fucking up. Could be Keegans tactics. If that is, I'm worried. Could be France, golden goal, anything. Just stick it down there. As always, when you're down there, click that subscribe button, that red button, and make us rich.
Make us rich. Yeah. So Simpson,
yes.
How's it been? Your first experience on?
Been good, man. Been good. I'm glad I picked a comfy chair. Otherwise, I'd be sat here with pals at my age. But it's been good. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed going back down memory lane. It's like I say, it's good watching these old tournaments and talking about them again, because you forget how good they were. Yeah. And how blessed we were with some amazing football growing up. And I think just with everything going on, I'm just missing football in general anyway, and the crowds and stuff like that. So no, it's been enjoyable. Thank you very much. I will probably wake up with cold sweats and shivers about Phil Neville in the middle of the night. Other than that, I'm all right. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'll put a few links of this bad boy in the old channel as well, and get some of the Reggae Boy Nations come over and start watching this, because again, it's all football, it's all love. So that's the main thing. So that's it.
Yeah, it's been great to have you on board, Chris Simpson. Even it's been a while. I've not seen you.
Man.
And lockdowns. This is where we're at the moment. We hopefully just not too distant future.
Yeah.
What we should do is when we can, we'll just instead of going out, we'll have a podcast night.
That's it. Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Just that. But yeah, everyone, thanks for watching. And this is when we set off, we thought it'd be a quick half an hour one, but it's
never ends up that way.
But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. See you later. Bye.